Okay, welcome back, viewers, to part 3 of Pluto in the 12th house, or Pisces. All right, and we have enough light here. It's a real dark day, rainy day here. Okay, so some who have been karmically destined to play the role of a martyr or victim in order to realize their own lessons in judgment have left us with inspiring testimony to this kind of 12th house truth concerning judgment and forgiveness. Jesus, of course, is a paramount example. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Anne Frank, another example, wrote in her diary, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart." Jesus had Neptune conjunct the South Node in Scorpio, and 6 planets in Pisces opposed Pluto, and Mars retrograde in Virgo. The ruler of Jesus' North Node in Taurus was Venus in Pisces. Anne Frank's chart has the South Node in Scorpio, ruled by a 12th house Pluto, with North Node in Taurus, ruled by a 10th house Venus in Taurus. The evolutionary lesson in proper judgment is extremely important in another respect. Many 12th house Pluto individuals will have an irrational and abject fear of the unknown. Many will not be able to face themselves alone. The soul, for all 12th house Plutos, is anchored in the universal or cosmic whole. While this is true for all of us, 12th house Pluto individuals are pulled into the universal source much more intensely than those with any other house position of Pluto. It is their emphasized and intensified bottom line. Consequently, many will experience this pull as a deep inner vortex, like a black hole in the universe, that threatens to consume them in the abyss. Fearing dissolution and loss of control, they can manifest all forms of aberrant behavior: acute paranoia, neurosis, schizophrenia, and phobias are extreme manifestations. Less acute symptoms are intense nightmares, sleepwalking, fear of closing their eyes, can't be alone, always talking, intense escape or avoidance patterns, always has to be doing something until physical exhaustion overcomes them, and refusal or denial of anything they don't want to hear, touch, feel, experience, taste, or smell. Some with Pluto in the 12th house can be the recipients of quote-unquote visitations, okay, by other entities or energies. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Because of that that victimization, you're open to that. So that's a huge reason too, besides everything else, of course, to bring this out. And that's here to assist you to bring out that within yourself. Or they can experience feelings, emotions, moods, thoughts, or desires of unknown origins. Sometimes the origins are inner repressions that suddenly erupt to the surface, Sometimes the origin is psychic absorption of the thoughts and emotions of others, and sometimes the origin is derived from promptings of other worldly forces or entities. Yes, because a lot of you are probably very psychic. Absolutely. And so it's going to be at first negative, scary, unfortunately, victimizing, very possibly is what it's saying, at least until, but see, this is your strength, but you don't know it's your strength. It's not considered a strength, of course, until now you can see, and once you deal with this properly, you are very powerful, and you will be able to use it in a very positive, powerfully positive way for all of humanity. All of humanity. And also I got help others that just like you, who once you've completed this, you can go back and help others so that they can also be freed. All of these behavioral symptoms reflect the same evolutionary intent to dissolve all the old barriers preventing a direct contact or relationship with the universal source, and to align with a transcendental belief system in order to foster this relationship. In worst case scenarios, the resistance to this process will produce insanity, possession, or total disintegration and fragmentation. In a few, it will manifest as the Jesus syndrome. Individuals who are totally deluded and intoxicated by their own egos and who consider themselves God. Judgment and discrimination are necessary so that these individuals learn to understand what is happening inside of them. And all of you who are still viewing this right here, right now, this is exactly what you're doing. I'm so proud of each and every one of you that are listening to this part 3, because I know you've probably or will do all parts. This understanding can only occur through the desire to align with the transcendental belief system or structure in order to realize and place in proper perspective the cause behind the manifestation of any or all of these symptoms. In this way, they will learn how to sort out delusions, illusions, and fictions versus revelation, truth, and divine inspiration. The fear of the unknown will be replaced with the faith and trust to plunge into the abyss of the unknown and to become resurrected or metamorphosed. In so doing, the fear that some of these individuals have of being dissolved into nothingness or non-existence will evaporate. Beautiful. With the bottom line anchored in the universal, some who have positively responded to the prior evolutionary intent will come into this life as natural psychics, channels, or mediums. So if that is what you are currently doing, this is why. Others will plunge totally into the abyss of infinity with faith and will have an almost exclusive focus upon the source. A few in this group will have experienced absolute revelations as to the nature of creation. Wow. They will experience themselves as cosmic beings. Some have realized or felt that quote unquote, nothing else works, to such an extent that they have or will deny other aspects of themselves that need to be acknowledged and developed, not suppressed. Each individual is unique. Each chart will reveal the prior evolutionary and karmic background that has led to any or all of these conditions. I'm going to read that again. That is so essential. Each individual is unique. Each chart will reveal the prior evolutionary and karmic background that has led to any or all of these conditions. And I'm going to say absolutely all of you. I cannot encourage you enough. If you don't already know your nodes of the moon, to find out. Let me send you the written copies. Look on your natal wheel. If you haven't, okay, the symbol, maybe you don't know what the symbol looks like of the nodes of the moon. North node looks like upright headphones or an upright horseshoe. South node is directly across, upside down headphones, upside down horseshoe. And then you can also look in my past. I've made playlists for the house positions of the nodes of the moon and the zodiac signs of the nodes of the moon. I absolutely encourage, there's the word, encourage you to also listen, do both, because that is going to engage two different parts of your conscious frontal lobe of your brain, bringing that out of your subconscious so that you can take care of this blockage, this program from the past, even quicker. Okay. Okay, so now let me see here. Where was I? Oh, okay. Others with 12th house Plutos will come into this life not understanding why they are here. The earth being sensed as a foreign environment. These individuals have either spent many other lives elsewhere, on other planets, or have spent a great deal of time out of body. A common problem of these types is a frustration at being unable to express to others how they feel and experience themselves. Oh, feel and experience themselves. Okay, one moment. My nose is, I apologize, so cold today. My nose continues to run. Be right back. Okay. Sorry about that, viewers. That is not acceptable. Okay. 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 Some 12th house Pluto individuals have had a series of lifetimes of utter withdrawal from the world itself. This withdrawal could have occurred in monasteries, prisons, in the wilderness, and so forth. The prior intent was one of self-contemplation, within the universal whole. Sometimes this withdrawal was enforced against the person's will through confinement in order to enforce the same lesson. In cases of forced confinement, the element of karmic retribution must be considered and evaluated as to the reasons why. All 12th house Pluto individuals will have a highly stimulated pineal gland. Did you hear that, viewers? All 12th house Pluto individuals will have a highly stimulated pineal gland. Third eye. As Manly Hall points out in The Occult Anatomy of Man, this gland was called the occult gland in other cultures and times. Located above the spinal column in the middle of the brain, this gland secretes a naturally transcendent chemical substance called melatonin. Just as the ingestion of LSD, for example, will alter the state of consciousness, so too does the pineal gland through the secretion of melatonin. The pineal gland is stimulated by light entering the retina of the eyes. Because this gland is highly stimulated or active in these individuals, they can experience, on a cyclic basis, altered states of consciousness. Wow. The process is a naturally spiritualizing one, yet for those who have not consciously desired to pursue and develop their spirituality, this process can produce the negative psychological symptoms mentioned above. Okay. From a psychological point of view, melatonin produced from the pineal gland sensitizes the entire organism. By sensitizing the brain, the consciousness, the individual's neurological, electrical impulses are sensitized or attuned to higher vibrations. Impulses or knowledge of a transcendental nature. This substance sensitizes through sharpening all our natural anatomical sensors to any stimulus: touch, taste, hearing, smell, and seeing. For example, a person may become more sensitive to impurities in food. If such individuals do not exercise caution, they can suffer problems in their pancreas, enzyme, insulin production, gallbladder, stomach, duodenum, liver, digestive tract, necessary levels of bacteria in the colon and intestines, endocrine system, and the strength of the astral or etheric body. Emotional, psychic, intellectual, or physical stress can produce physiological and psychological problems, as can resistance to the evolutionary pull. If the individual is extremely denial-oriented or suppressed, the worst-case scenarios promote cancer, tumors, boils, or abscesses. Wow. Well, Pluto is going to, you are going to transform, or you're going to pass on. I mean, it's going to, get to the root of the situation, you're going to experience experiences that are going to, that saying, as harsh as it is, the saying, what doesn't kill you strengthens you. This is Pluto. Pluto, just, it's going to get to the bottom. It's going to get to the root. And that's that. It's very, 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 again, that's death and rebirth. Transformation. You have to put to death certain things in order to be transformed. It's very, very intense. And it's Pluto. Intense, very intense energy. That's, again, the natural house of the 8th house and Scorpio. Scorpio is a very intense energy. High intensity. I do know about that. And I also do have my Neptune conjunct my South Node in the 8th house in Scorpio. Okay. As I mentioned earlier. Okay. Let me see now. Where was I? Okay. From a prior life point of view, all of these individuals have been learning how to balance their need for downtime with their need for external activity. So this is why it's so essential for you to have your own space and be uninterrupted so that you can re-energize your batteries. Be in that calm, harmonious space for yourself, internal-wise. This balance is critical. It's critical because, yes, you're so sensitive to the unseen realm, all of those different frequencies that was mentioned above. So you have to separate that, and you've got to figure out what was yours, what you absorbed, all of that stuff. And it's very, it's a process. I definitely know about that. I absolutely know about that. And it takes time. It takes time to consciously do that. But it is so awesomely essential and beneficial when you finally can separate and consciously know. Then you can use that sensitivity. Then it becomes your superpower instead of your weakness. And going through this whole process of everything I've read with Pluto is the only way. Again, essential, another thing is your nodes of the moon. And this, I guarantee you, your Pluto is in conjunction with your nodes of the moon and whatever other planets you have attaching the nodes of the moon too. So huge, huge. Okay. From a prior life point of view, all of these individuals have been learning, how to balance. This balance is crucial. Too much of either can promote emotional distortions of all kinds, loss of perspective, loss of a center of gravity, and psychic distortions. I absolutely understand all of them, absolutely. Because it has been so very easy for these individuals to lose touch with themselves, it has also been easy to lose awareness of the need for this balance, absolutely. Of when to retreat or seclude themselves and when not to. Losing touch reflects the dissolution process, the over-identification with an aspect of themselves, or the chasing of one fantasy or dream temptation after another. Fantasies have to do with Neptune. So you might want to check where your Neptune is. What house placement, what sign. If you have any hard aspects to other planets or your nodes, again, Pluto to Pluto. The balance point or rhythm is ever shifting and never the same. This shifting occurs because these individuals have also been attempting to live in the eternal now, the moment, as it reflects the past and future simultaneously. Thus, it's been and is important to develop an ongoing inner attunement or awareness as to the shifting nature of this rhythm for inner and outer activity, and to act accordingly. If these individuals try to follow this need as it occurs, then they have or will develop a consistent clarity or understanding at all levels of themselves and their worldly activities, because they are in harmony with themselves and the universe. Let's see what time it is. Okay, still have time. The Chinese philosophy of Taoism reflects this necessity in the concept called WUWEI. Simply translated, it means non-action. If the individual develops a conscious awareness as to the need of any moment and acts accordingly, then one's actions are in harmony with what is required in that moment. Thus, there is no action because action implies acting upon the moment from an energetic point of view. The three most common reactions to this prior evolutionary intent and the related karmic conditions that occur because of these reactions can be simply stated as follows. 1. Some 12th house Pluto individuals will have rejected or repelled the evolutionary desire through the strength of their egos, thus turning their backs to the abyss. They have retreated to the light of the known world, the past, latching onto something familiar, to tradition. They deny any larger force or source beyond themselves. They become intoxicated with their own egos. Karmically, this reaction will produce, on an ongoing or progressive basis, life situations or conditions of increasing powerlessness. Possible manifestations include physical disabilities, situations of confinement, or life circumstances wherein they are karmically blocked from being able to exercise any power at all. 2. Other individuals stand poised on the precipice, unable to move forward or backward more than a few steps either way. They commonly sense that there is a universe and source to which they are connected, yet still are bound by compulsions and the fear of going too far into it. There usually is a subconscious resistance to submitting to a higher power than themselves. They are simultaneously attracted and repulsed from developing a conscious relationship to this power. Thus, they practice their own kind of nebulous spirituality. In some, the need to develop their spirituality is only acknowledged in moments of extreme crisis when all else fails. As soon as the crisis passes, so too does the need and focus upon their spiritual side. Commonly, these types of individuals will align themselves with work of a human service nature. Karmically, they will experience alienation, emotional difficulties or disruptions, work-related problems, psychic disturbances, cycles of utter meaningless, emptiness or futility, disillusionment, and divine discontent in order to induce a more active development of the evolutionary intent. some of these individuals will be highly creative icons who can transform our own vision as to the nature of the world. An amazing number of the world's most gifted actors, writers, and composers have had Pluto in the 12th house. Let me see how much further. Okay, a couple more pages, and hopefully I can finish it in this last reading. Hopefully this will be the last part. Okay, number 3. These individuals have faced the abyss and, with faith, taken the plunge. In this way, they have allowed themselves to be dissolved from all the old barriers and egocentric limitations, and to be totally unconditioned from cultural or societal identifications. They have been reborn as an individual through whom the source was and is expressing itself. In other words, the center of the individual's consciousness has shifted from the wave to the ocean. Beautiful. Becoming at one with the source, these individuals simply do the tasks and duties that they are asked or destined to do. Some will have very specialized missions to perform on the behalf of all of us. Karmically, they are rapidly becoming freed from any further necessity to be on the earth plane. At some point, they will not return to this plane unless they so desire, or are asked to do so by the direction of the source and its agents. Reactions 1 and 3 are not common. Reaction 2 is by far the most common. Of course, these 3 distinct reactions can intertwine as an individual ebbs and flows with the inner and outer conditions of life. Individual evolutionary and karmic conditions will help aid our comprehensive understanding as to how and why each individual has reacted and is reacting to this prior evolutionary intent. In general, then, all 12th house Pluto individuals have been attempting to learn how to expand the center of their awareness to encompass the universal whole, to become cosmic wholeness, to see themselves and all others as extensions or reflections of the source of creation itself. In the 10th house, the individual learned to be a cultural person with a national identity. In the 11th house, they learned to break free from this limitation and become international or planetary individuals. In the 12th house, they are learning to become universal or cosmic individuals. This process required redefining themselves relative to a time and space, culture, groups of like-minded souls, anything that conditioned their sense of separate and personal identity that did not accommodate their timeless and immortal identity in the source, the cosmic sea. The need was to understand the individual part they were meant to play in their various lives and to allow the source to express itself through that part. In this way, so I'm getting each and every one of you are to see that each and every one of you are a part of the whole source of creation, the creator. And you are expressing one part of that whole of the creator, if that makes sense. In this way, the individual must learn how to let go of everything that pertains to their past in order to prepare once again for a brand new evolutionary cycle. This new cycle will be represented by Pluto in the first house. All of us keep going round and around until the 12th house archetypal intent is fully realized. It is a process of refinement and progressive elimination of our separating desires and the karma that these desires generate. The polarity point is the 6th house or Virgo, because 12th house, the 6th house is the opposite of the 12th house. That's what the author is saying. The general evolutionary intent is for these individuals to develop specific and practical mental methods or techniques through which they learn how to analyze themselves. By developing these mental techniques, they will be able to understand how and why they work the way they work and are the way that they are. In addition, they will progressively learn to see, experience, or witness how one part is linked or connected to another part, and how one part or condition influences the expression of every other part. Relative to their need to connect themselves to a transcendental belief system, this polarity point now demands that they harness their natural meditational state through specific meditative techniques that will allow them to bring into a sharper and more experiential focus on their living connection to the source. Through these techniques and methods, they can examine with their conscious and rational mind the dynamics within their totality that need to be adjusted, changed, eliminated, or purified because of the blockage that these dynamics are creating. Okay. In addition, the polarity point demands that these individuals commit themselves to some form of work of a practical and useful nature to others. The main theme that must be actualized is one of human service. In other words, they cannot remain in isolated and self-centered pursuits. The form that this work takes does not matter, as long as the theme of human service is met. The form is irrelevant. On the other hand, the type of work should reflect what the individual is here to do. It should not be just any work. The individual's right work can be determined by his or her natural, evolutionary, and karmic condition. In the East, the concept of karma yoga reflects this evolutionary need. Karma yoga means that the individual must identify his or her right work relative to his or her natural capacities and tendencies, karmic actions, and attunement to divine will. An individual who identifies his or her work in this way simply cooperates and fulfills that work requirement, allowing the divine or source to express itself through the work. In this way, the work itself becomes a vehicle through which personal knowledge, self-realization, self-purification, devotion, and humility are obtained. Work expressed in this way would also benefit all those who are affected by the work itself. What is important is the attitude toward one's work, no matter how grand or insignificant it may be from external standards of judgment. The specific form or kind of work is always in response to the needs of the whole at any point in time. Work is necessary because, of itself, it is a dynamic that promotes a focus through which these individuals can harness and channel the undefined energies of their 12th house Plutos. When one is working, one is involved in an activity that promotes processing or focusing of oneself through that activity. Thus, work serves as a mirror or lens in which these individuals can experience, witness, see, or analyze all the emotions, moods, feelings, images, states of being, inner dynamics, and component parts that surface into their consciousness because of the activity of work. I am sorry. I'm going to have to stop this anyway, and there's going to have to be one last about 10-minute fourth part. I'm sorry, but this again is very, very long, but as you can see, it had to be because there's so much packed information for each and every one of you who have Pluto in the 12th house or in Pisces. So I'm going to stop the video here and I will restart it with the final part 4. Okay.